Hello learners, welcome to the other session of environmental and occupational hazards. Today we are going to discuss about physical hazards that comprises extreme temperature, noise and vibration. Physical hazards are the hazards we know that liberate energy in various forms. So that means various forms means noise, vibration, pressure, temperature and ionizing and non-ionizing radiations. So some occupations that are associated with extreme temperatures are also there. So what they will do, it will alter the mechanism of natural temperature regulation. Physical hazards are also the types of hazards and also derived from energy, matter and the combination of these two. So they are in the workplace, which are categorized into worker material interfaces and the physical work environment and also the energy and electromagnetic radiation. So mainly physical hazards are based on common principles of basic physics and workers' safety. We know that physics is the science of energy and also matter and is studied in various fields like acoustics, optics, mechanics, thermodynamics and also electromagnetism. In a broader sense, physical hazards are primarily hazards of energy, temperature, pressure or sometimes time that can cause injury to human beings with or without touching. So the physical hazards are grouped under occupational or environmental hazards. So physical hazards are the hazards, we can say that results from the energy and matter and also the interrelationship between these two. So the conceptually the physical hazards in the workplace, that is subdivided again into the worker material interfaces and also electromagnetic radiation sometimes. So the consequences of the exposure to these hazards that can be modified by the workers' protection and also variety of human factors. And also we have to see the general principles of basic physics and workers' protection. So physics is the science of energy and also matter and of the interrelationship between these two, which are grouped in the traditional fields like what we have already seen, that there is a thermodynamics and electromagnetism. And the quantum physics, that is deals with very small energy forces. That means relatively deals with the objects which are traveling at very high speeds and that causes the time effects. So physical hazards that can be thought of as a primarily hazards of energy, temperature, pressure or time. And also this broad definition that allows for the researchers of many hazards and also the hazard to classify to represent important issues in the workplace. So an understanding of these physical hazards, we requires some familiarity with the two basic concepts of the physics. One is the classical mechanics, that means with its derivatives of thermodynamics and also the fluid dynamics and electromagnetic radiation. So physical hazards are broadly classified into ergonomic hazards, radiation hazards, extreme temperature hazards, vibration hazards and noise hazards, and engineering controls which are required to reduce physical hazards. And first we have to see and then learn about extreme temperature as a physical hazard. So temperature is a physical quantity that is demonstrating hot and coldness of an object. So it is a proportional standard to estimate the average kinetic energy of a matter in a system. So the temperature is measured by using the Celsius scale, that is normally we can symbolize as a C, and then Fahrenheit, that is a scale denoted as a F degree, and also Kelvin scale is also another one which is denoted as a K. So the extreme temperatures that can cause reduction in the ability to work by affecting the health in human beings and also considered it as a physical hazards. So now we will discuss about severe cold and high temperatures, how it will make as a physical hazard. So decrease in indoor and outdoor temperatures that can cause a physical discomfort, and also it decreases the working capabilities, energy, and in extreme conditions it may cause to sometimes death. So the physical hazard of this type is depending on the climate, production, tendency of body heat and vapor, and finally the way we are clothing also, and the response of human body towards cold temperature. So these are the so many factors which involved for this temperature as a physical hazard. So the range of cold temperatures is below 110 degrees to 22 degrees centigrade. And if person feels the sensation of cold, that is also considered as an indication of coldness. We are the best examples. That means human body has an ability to regulate body heat by the mechanism of thermoregulation, in which generating the heat and releasing that is produced heat, and at the same rate to balance the overall body temperature. So this process is depending on change in temperature, clothing, and also physical activity all together that alters the regulation process. For example, body parts like fingertips, nose and ears, which experienced the callosity and the loss of feeling, because in the thermoregulation process to stabilize the inner body temperature, sometimes the blood circulation that is reduced to the outer surface. Another example I would like to give is shivering. We all experienced that, and it will occur when there is a drop in temperature. So it is one of the body's protective operations, whereby the rapid movement of muscles heat generates to maintain inner body temperature. So along with the coldness, there is a combination of different air temperatures and wind speed. So these two we can say that this is a wind chill factor that affects the health. For example, at 10 degrees centigrade temperature in a calm air environment, body feels very cool. Whereas at the same temperature with 30 kilometers per hour wind speed, that produces frozen coldness. Because this is the insulator of thin cover of air between the skin and the outer atmosphere blown away by the wind. And also one more example, that is driving a vehicle or working near air blower that raises the wind chill factor above the normal conditions, thus that causes potential physical hazard. So there are two types of health problems arises in the cold weather work. One is frostbite and the second one is hypothermia. First we will look into the frostbite. What does it mean? So frostbite is a freezing of tissues. It can happen at temperatures above 0 degrees centigrade that depend on the situation. If the clothing of a worker is wet or damp and the skin directly contact with the objects that below the freezing point, that can causes the reduction in the blood circulation when frostbite can occur. So it occurs to the body parts like cheeks, nose, fingers, toes, and also the ear lobes, which are poorly insulated, and also sometimes it is left exposed. So in frostbite, the body tissues will damage with the formation of ice crystals in them. So the tissue detritus block the small blood vessels, and then consequently they retard the blood supply to the small blood vessels. So the effect of the frostbite is loss of feeling or otherwise paleness. On prolonged exposure tissue of this one, there is a tissue necrosis will occur. And the next one is a hypothermia that occurs when the loss of body heat is greater than the heat produced. Insufficient clothing and poor insulation and exhaustion from physical work are the factors for the hypothermia. So in this case, in hypothermia condition, shivering starts as the temperature of human body decreases, and in further decrease in body temperature, shivering also decreases with slow heart rate. So the first indication is shivering and the second indication is the slow heart rate. So these symptoms consequently leads to the unconsciousness and finally death will occur. In cold weather, there are other associated problems also there. They are like immersion foot and pneumonia, arthritis like this. So the immersion of feet in cold water for long duration or damp, the footwear can cause, that is a trenching foot or immersion foot. So in this accumulation of fluid in foot tissues, that is developed swelling, pain and also spasm in blood vessel that damage the foot muscles. In some cases, gangrene may also develop. So the response of human body towards hot temperature, now we have to check. So now the response to the hot temperature, that is heat related ailments which are common in those occupations where the employees are exposed to heat environments. Sometimes it is high humidity conditions either indoors or outdoors. For example, working in iron and steel plants and the ceramic industries, brick furnaces, boiler rooms in electrical workshops and laundries or the bakery and chemical plants are some of the indoor workplace examples where generally the hot conditions will persist. So many workers working in outdoor environment like construction or otherwise hazardous waste, agricultural farming and oil and gas plants, they are facing severe heat related illness. When a worker exposed to extreme heat, the body should eliminate excess heat that is absorbed to maintain the normal body temperature without any adverse effect. So normally this will happen by natural body mechanism either through the blood circulation to the skin or by sweating. Sometimes the temperature of the air is hotter than the normal body temperature. The body cooling mechanism is difficult by blood circulation to the skin process, that is, and it is done by the sweating only. So in humid conditions, the sweating is also difficult and the excess heat will be stored in the body. As the body accumulates the heat continuously, the body temperature will definitely rise up with the increase in the heart rate. So what will happen with this? The person becomes sick and loses concentration, of course, and focus on the work. So the health indications may vary from heat rash, sometimes it is muscle cramps and sometimes it is a heat stroke and exhaustion and finally unconscious that leads to death. Learner, now we have to look into the noise and vibration, how it will become a physical hazard. So we learnt about that noise and vibration, they are quite often linked between these two, like noise and vibration engineering, because the exposure to vibration is usually associated with the exposure to noise. And the physics of vibration and noises both are similar. The specific health effects of exposure to noise are different to those are arising from the exposure to vibration. So they are both insidious and also can manifest after long period of latency. So that means the health effects of noise and vibration should be taken seriously by their creators as part of their business activities. And management of noise and vibration hazards is a specialized area with advice that is able to source from the noise and vibration engineers, occupational hygienists and also the audiologists. And these two are closely linked in that noise that originates from a vibrating body, and also both noise and vibrations are transmitted as waves through a medium in the case of noise and then also in the case of vibration. So that means, for example, if you will consider the noise, the medium of noise is obviously it is air. Vibration may be transmitted through solid structures also, like a floor or the hand grip of tools, like this. So knowledge of units of measurement like hertz and decibels together with some understanding of the physics of waves like frequency, wavelength, amplitude and reflection, absorption and transmission is also most important in understanding the behavior of noise and vibration, and so the development of controls. Sound consists of very small pressure changes they are superimposed on the atmospheric pressure. So whenever air molecules move in a pendulum motion backwards and forwards from their resting position, that causes momentary compression and rarefaction of the air pressure. So the air molecules that pass some of their energy onto neighboring molecules, and also they spread their energy over an increasingly larger volume, like the ripples when a stone is thrown into a water, what we have experienced so many times. So the pressure changes are detected by the eardrum, which vibrates in response. So the vibrations are transferred through a lever system consisting of 3 tiny bones in the middle ear to the fluid filled inner ear. In the inner ear, tiny hair cells that convert the vibrations into electrical pulses that are sent to the brain. So the brain is then able to process these electrical pulses into meaningful sounds. So this is the entire mechanism. So a primary indicator that noise may be hazardous to hearing is when a person has to raise their voices to talk to somebody who is about an arm's length away in a noisy workplace. So a risk assessment, that is a noise measurement, should then be conducted to identify the processes or the noise sources and workers likely to be exposed above the exposure standard. So the nature of vibration, that is consist of oscillatory movements of the particles or the molecules, we can say, around their equilibrium in a solid body or the liquid or gas in the area of infrasound, that is less than 20 Hz, and partially also in the audible sound frequency range, that is up to 1500 Hz. So because an industrial situations, vibration normally occurs in air in the audible frequency range, it is normally also experience it as a sound. So the understanding the source and mode of transmission of vibration, and so the appropriate control measures can be complex, and it is appropriate to seek some specialized or the specialist advice. So measurement of human vibration exposure, that involves the use of accelerometers and specialized vibration meters. So the magnitude of vibration is normally expressed in as an acceleration in meters per second square, and it is also measured in 3 directions, that is the horizontal front direction, and also horizontal side to side direction, and vertical up down direction at the point of contact with the vibrating object. Dear learner, we have learnt about some of the physical hazards of the noise and then vibration, and also temperature we have seen. So now I would like to conclude that normally the blue collar occupations, those who are working in that, they are most affected by both noise and vibration hazards. Noise in particular is a hazard in many workplaces, and occupational noise is also induced hearing loss that has been classified as one of the 8 priority diseases in the workplaces. So the identification of noise hazards in the workplace is fairly simple, but awareness of the individual hearing deficit may be delayed because of the cumulative nature of the noise exposure, and also the complicating impact of leisure noise, and also age related hearing loss. Although regulations and guidance for noise hazards that emphasize the importance of control at source that have been existed in the globe for many years, and also the hearing protectors which are reported to be the predominant control measures. So in many workplaces there is a need for change in the approach to control of noise hazards. With these I would like to conclude. In the next session we will come up with some other environmental and occupational hazards. Thank you.